All three of us were picked up, started to give us a ride down to Dairy Queen or whatever, I guess. And
we got into the restaurant and she said, why don't you just buy coffee here and we'll go home and I'll fix you breakfast.
Wow.
Which consisted of fresh eggs, biscuits, fresh venison. And while we were there, we said, well, we really need to get into town. We've got some things to do. We need to wash our clothes and take a shower. And they said, well, we've got a washer and we've got a shower. So, you know, why don't you do it here? And it's just the people that have opened up have been amazing. The term is trail magic.
You're a part of me. Green Hills, you're the heart of me. You lead me on the right track. I knew someday I'd come back. Sweet Green Hills, you're my home. Clean air.
This is the Appalachian Trail, over 2,100 miles of adventure. Each spring, nearly 1,200 backpackers find themselves here on Springer Mountain in northern Georgia. They share a goal: to hike the entire length of the trail from Georgia to Maine. The journey winds through 14 states and takes 4 to 6 months to complete. These men and women, called through hikers, are guided only by sheer determination and the 2 by 6 inch white marks called blazes that appear on trees and rocks all along the AT. Milestones such as Damascus, Virginia, the home of trail days, the halfway point at Pine Grove Furnace State Park in Pennsylvania, the Kennebec River in Maine, all fall behind as they approach Baxter State Park, the northern terminus of the Appalachian Trail, Mount Katahdin.
I went out to Gooch Gap just to talk to the hikers, and they had a couple of them had a box to pick up, and so I asked them if they'd like to come down here and get it and save the walk the next morning, and so they jumped at the chance to do that. So they came down and picked up the box, and another guy wanted to mail something, so we did a little after hours business, and
Wow.
they was really glad to get the help.
But basically, everybody comes here and they're looking to get rid of all their extra weight.
Right, they're going to dump off all they can. They want it weighed to see how much they're getting rid of. That's what excites them. The more the pounds go up, the more excited they get, because they know it's going to be a little bit lighter.
All the stuff that I worried about happening, like my legs getting sore or the food being bad or there not being enough water, hadn't happened yet. It seems that the worst part to it is just being downright lonely. I mean, sometimes you'll get to a shelter. I've stayed in a shelter the first night, and then I camped out the last 2 nights, and it's weird. You're really out there alone, but it's a good feeling too. Sometimes you just, you miss your friends, you miss your family, but I can see that that's going to be play a lot bigger part than what I thought. The major thing that comes to my mind, I just wanted to get away by myself for 5 or 6 months or however long I wanted to. And by myself, I mean out here by myself, not move to a city by myself. Mm-hmm. And just have time to think about everything that's happened to me in the first 25 years of my life and figure out what it is I really want to do with my life.
And here's a volunteer going to Neil's Gap. What's the first thing you want when you get there?
Spaghetti dinner.
All right.
Okay, what's your name?
Scott Anderson.
Okay. Did you catch? There you are. I was going to say, did you get together? Okay, you want to spend the night? The bunk and shower is $10.
Okay.
And spaghetti dinner is $4.95.
Take that.
Breakfast is $2.95.
Okay.
Okay. Are you a vegetarian?
No. You love it.
It's a great thing for people who like us that love the outdoors and the trail, and allows us to stay in contact with it all and be in touch with all the great people coming through.
Wow. And do you think hikers have changed a lot since you first started working, or are they still pretty much the same? Or
I think pretty much the spirit of things is the same. We seem to be getting a lot more now of people like professional people and retired people, and people who are taking breaks, just making the time to take breaks in the middle of their career.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like people every year, the base level of knowledge ahead of time of what they need, both gear-wise and planning-wise and all that, seems to be improving every year, so that's great. I think if I had one thing to say, it would be enjoy the process, rather than trying to think about Mount Katahdin all the way. It's just such a great thing to do and enjoy every day of, and if it ends up ending at 3 months and you've enjoyed every day, then it's a great success. And yeah, so enjoy the process.
Yeah, well, it just seems that the social experience is very important. And I remember the first time I came out here, I thought it was going to be isolation and meditation on mountaintops, and there's that if you want it. You can find that. But really what I remember the most was the relationships that I found and maintained.
Real good. When did you leave Springer?
Monday, was that the 2nd or the 3rd?
The 2nd.
The 2nd, I think.
Yeah. And now that you've done say 9 miles.
I haven't been counting.
But you're feeling pretty good?
Yeah.
And how much are you carrying there? It looks like a big load.
Yeah, I figure it's somewhere around 60 or 70 pounds.
Uh-huh.
It's mostly food, though, so it'll get lighter by the end of the week.
Great. And where are you going to resupply at?
Wallace Gap. There's a campground.
Rainbow Springs.
Rainbow Springs.
Right. Great. So how long have you wanted to do the trail?
Years and years.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first year it was really feasible for me. Probably also the last year it would be feasible for me.
Mm-hmm. And you're hiking alone?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm keeping up with a bunch of people I met a couple shelters back.
Mm-hmm.
So we end up at the same place every night.
Well, that's good. So you enjoy the social part of the trail. You didn't come out here to be alone in the woods.
No, not particularly.
Yeah.
I just, it's kind of hard to find a partner. It's kind of hard to ask someone to take 6 months off and walk 2,100 miles.
I understand.
But I figured I'd meet a lot of people on the trail once I got started.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any particular reason for escaping the real world, as we call it?
I think Thoreau said it best when he said, I didn't want to get to the end of my life and discover I hadn't lived.
Hi, I'm talking to the Kansas kids, and we're here at Wesser at the Nantahala Outdoor Center. How's it going so far?
Oh, we're having a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, it's hard work, but we met so many wonderful people, and when you get on top of those mountains and the beautiful view, we love it.
So is this your first stay in a motel since you left Springer Mountain, or?
Yes, we stayed at Nell's Gap, but that was in a hostel on
Right.
a bunk bed.
So you've got some privacy here anyway.
Yeah, our first privacy.
Wow. So what made you decide to do the trail?
Well, we've been planning this for about
6 years?
Well,
Six,
six to 8 years, because he retired last year, And we didn't want to do the usual things that retired people do, like take off on a cruise or go to Europe. We wanted to do something that was a little more fun and a little different. So and then our kids are all hikers, and we decided this would be a good thing that we could have something in common with our kids.
I'm talking to Colleen, and known as Cupcake to her fellow hikers. You're hiking with a bunch of guys that you met on top of Springer, right?
Yes, I was really fortunate to meet up with them. I started out all alone and didn't really know what was going to happen. When I got to Amapola Falls, it was like my parents dropped me off at college or something. I was really scared, and I happened to meet up with them right up on top of the mountain, and we've pretty much stuck together ever since then.
Great. And so, when you tell your parents you're hiking with 5 guys, what do they say?
Well, they thought that was all right, I guess. I've been a tomboy all my life, and so I've always pretty much hung around with the guys more than the girls anyway. They weren't too shocked about it, but they were really glad that I had people looking after me now. They were really worried the first time I called them on the phone.
Let's see, and we're talking with Hunter, and that's your trail name and your real name.
Yeah, good first name, so I figured it'd be a good trail name also.
Yeah, it's a great first name. You haven't been doing any of that on the trail, have you?
No.
Okay. What did you say about shelters? Did you say you hadn't been?
Any of the hostels or anything. I'm on an itinerary. I kind of, before I left on the trip, I sat down in the library for about 3 days and mapped out a general itinerary. So I usually just camp in an area that's about 14 miles a day. So I go roughly, I mean that's a rough average, but about 14 miles a day.
All right.
And, you know, camp in a lot of nice places, up on mountain ridges, or wherever I happen to be.
So you think you tend to be more alone this way? Don't you think?
Yeah, I do, because like the one night I stayed in the shelter was a lot of fun because everybody was playing the guitar and stuff. But like since I stay away from some of the towns and the hostels, you know, I don't know as many people on the trail, or I just see them for a while. But I kind of like that because it's part of the reason I would have done the trail if I'm hiking alone. I wouldn't have done it at all if I thought I was going to be the only person.
All right.
We always welcome AT hikers.
And do you think this group of hikers is any different from previous years? Any differences in attitude?
Some of them are the same ones. No, I don't think there's any difference in attitudes. There's a certain bond or camaraderie out there, and every year when you get new hikers through, you find out it's the same. They all become great friends as they meet each other, and even those that haven't met each other yet are looking down the road.
Yeah. Do you hear from a lot of hikers when they get finished with the trail?
A lot of them will drop us cards, and we mail drop for a lot of people. We will ship if they get down the trail and they need something and can't find it. We'll ship it to them.
That's great. That's a nice service. What's another special service I hear you have here nearby?
That's our Camp Suds. We got the only coin-operated laundromat and shower, at least shower, in town.
All right.
And a lot of hikers like to drop down and take a good hot shower. It changes your whole attitude. That, pizza, and beer will work anytime.
Tell me, what's been one of the most unusual things that's happened to you on the trail?
Actually, the ride into town was my first meeting of a trail angel. Met a Baptist preacher as soon as I got off the trail, and we had to hike 3.7 miles down the road. He picked me up, drove me all the way here, gave me $20, and he said, just spend it as you will. And I was absolutely broke and needed the money.
Do you share the duties at home? Do you...
Well, that's what we went into the marriage is, you know, you take care of your duties, you know, and I always reneged on my duties. So we had a dirty bathroom and a dirty car.
Yeah.
But you can't do it too much on the trail. You have to take care of certain things.
It's as soon as we get up in the morning, Rick doesn't say, okay, Shirley, it's time to... At first, he was saying that, and that would really make me mad. It's like, get up and, okay, we got to get the tent down, we got to do this. And now it's more or less, you know, I'll get up and he'll immediately start making the coffee, and I'll start stuffing sleeping bags. We don't even, it's just, we've gotten into different routines, and I'm okay with what he's doing, and he's okay with what I'm doing now, which is, I took about a couple weeks to work that out, the kinks out.
All right.
We're having fun. We really are.
It is. This is an experience of a lifetime. It is.
What you doing?
What am I doing?
Writing his journal.
Writing in my journal. I'm further behind than I had anticipated I would ever be. But
So you got a mail drop and no
taking my
today,
time
right?
and doing it correctly, hopefully,
Got
so
about
I'll
19 meal drops.
be able to remember this
18,
trail for a lifetime.
How many days
I'm sure
do
you won't
try to
forget.
put in here?
7 to 10.
It'd be awful
Oh, that's quite a
difficult.
bit.
Yeah, it is.
I cut mine down to 6 days.
Have you been writing letters home?
Too heavy.
Yeah,
Mine was up there for a while.
matter of fact, I'm in the midst of doing that too.
Not so
I'm
bad now.
doing more than one thing at a time. I got plenty of postcards for some friends.
I'm losing
and,
weight. Hey, I have to cut down.
stationery that my girlfriend sent me. We just came back from town, so I received a letter from her. So I assume usually I write a letter back when we get into town. This way she doesn't get upset. And so I try to write letters before we get into town, but I didn't do that last night since we put in a long night climbing road.
She didn't want to hike with you?
All the comforts of
I could
home.
no. No, her idea of camping is not the same as mine. But she's very understanding of what I'm doing, so I can't really complain. It's pretty funny. And my parents, though, they're pretty supportive too. So they keep in touch with the letters and are pretty excited to hear from me in different towns.
What's the first question they ask you when you call them?
If I'm eating enough. Which is always no. Just that plus how the site's on and everything. You know, they enjoy listening, and I've been sending my film home one or two rolls at a time, and they've been developing it for me. So they're actually getting to see places that we've been to already. I think they kind of feel a little bit more a part of it when they see where we've been, rather than we were going to wait all the way till the end, but this way they can follow us all the way up to Maine. So that's I think they're excited about that.
It is Hobbit and Mrs. Hobbit visiting Damascus for trail days. Enjoying your stay, Mrs. Hobbit?
Oh, I love Damascus.
We love Damascus.
Yes.
Just whole natural. There you go, Pete.
Are your boots, Noreen? You're all ready to go north?
Oh yeah, they're gonna give me a couple hundred
That's
more miles.
9, and that started.
There they are.
April the 4th. We've got 9.
There's this stuff on them. Is it glue?
It's a sealer. It'll stick.
Can I help?
Oh, okay.
It'll dry. It'll be just tarry when it dries.
That's great. Thanks a lot. I'll let you know how they hold up.
Now pronounce you Madam Wife.
The people at Damascus are great, especially in the post office. They will get your mail to you no matter what, even if you don't have your name on the post office, on the letter. They actually found me and gave me this.
Art, I can't.
Wow.
I'm serious, they did.
How important is mail to you?
It's tremendous. It's what keeps you going sometimes when nothing else seems to matter, you know, and you get down and you get to a place and somebody's got, you know, a candy box or a letter or something just to keep you buoyed up. It's great.
We're doing pancakes for everybody.
All right.
We love waking up at 5:30.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Let me have your sign.
Got it.
Have your sign.
Okay.
I'll get it back to you.
Okay. Where are you guys going? What are you going to do there?
Eat all we can at the all-you-can-eat salad bar.
All right.
We've hit all the other all-you-can-eat places in town. This is our last one, so we're going out in style. 16 people.
Here they go.
Feeding frenzy.
Is everybody hungry?
Yes. Starving.
All right. Is this trip number 1?
Yes.
Yes, this is only this is just a appetizer, actually.
But I did bring a plate and a bowl, just in case. I wish everyone in America would know what kind of food we like.
What makes it the place the hikers want to be?
Well, it's kind of neat because I've hiked off and on all my life, and haven't done the whole trail. Plan to do it in '93 if nothing goes wrong. But I took in hikers because they just didn't have a place in this area to hang out that didn't deprogram them. It's kind of important to hikers to have a place to get off the trail that they can kick back, just do anything they please to do without any rules, anybody getting down their back about anything, and still not be in society where it takes out the function of what they're doing. They get in town, they get back into a limelight of what they used to live in before they started the trail. Now, before long, they're deprogrammed. A lot of them have quit in Waynesburg in years past, and by coming up here, they can hang out and still have kerosene lights and have to cook on wood fire or whatever, and it's kind of roughing it like the way I live, so that they don't lose their incentive to keep going after they take the break that they need that keeps them from being discouraged. So I like to have a good time. I like the kids. I don't have any family, and I just plain make family out of my hikers. They're like brothers and sisters, or daughters and sons, and moms and dads, whatever.
Okay.
I really think a lot of them, and I try to keep in touch with all of them that I can.
Well, after 833 miles, my pack frame broke, so I had to wait here in town until the manufacturer could send me a new one.
And they did.
And they did. They were very nice about it. Sent it express mail. Got it very quickly.
Great. How do you feel?
I feel great. A few weeks after I started, I was in a lot of pain. My knees were hurting, and that cleared up. I'm in no pain now. My legs feel great. Ready to hit the trail again. So I walked 24 miles in one day into Rockfish Gap. It took me 13 and a half hours, and when I got to Rockfish Gap, I saw the magic words motel restaurant and said, "This is where I'm stopping." It just sucked me in like a magnet.
There they are.
There's two.
Poor girl. Now, has this been going on?
See, see the callus on the foot?
I see it. Has this been going on since Springer Mountain?
Blister. Oh yes, it was worse. I was wearing 3 pieces this size. I used to have a piece here, a piece on my toe, all the toes, a piece on there.
How did you do it? How come you're still on the trail?
Because, like everybody else, I'm crazy. I mean, you know, it's an obsession. I've wanted to do it for 18 years. And I always write to people and I say, going uphill is just like doing sit-ups. You know, you can do 1,000,000 sit-ups and it never gets easier.
Right.
And going uphill, I mean, today was just as hard as going uphill in Georgia 3 months ago. You know, it didn't make any difference that I'm now in Virginia instead of Georgia or North Carolina. It was a hard day. You know, that was uphill. But
I'm getting pretty used to the trail now. I get up and walk every day, and my feet don't hurt as much. My pack's not as heavy. And
is that because you've lightened it or because you're in better shape now?
Because I've lightened it.
Yeah.
And whenever I have a bad day, I've realized that the alternative is to get off the trail and go back to work. And I figure this is pretty nice work here, pretty good job I have, so I'll keep it for a while.
Yeah. So have you felt any changes in yourself since you left Springer? The way you look at things? Or?
Yes, I think so. I haven't given it much thought, but a lot of the necessities of life are no longer necessities. I don't know exactly what, but I got off the trail to go visit my folks, and I saw my friends sitting at the same place, saying the same things and living the same life, and I believe my philosophy of life has changed more. My eyes have been open for traveling and meeting people and things of that nature.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll say thank you for your generosity.
How many days is it taking you to get here?
I started April 10th, so it's about almost 3 months.
That's great.
It's almost, yeah.
Is the trail any different than you thought it would be?
It has hills. I thought it would be a lot more flat. I thought I'd be going a lot faster, a little more like distance running, that kind of thing, but it's been really well groomed as far as, I mean, obviously the people have done a lot of work to keep it open.
And what about the people?
The people are
too many
incredible.
or too few or?
It seems like I have a karma debt as long as my legs and arms put together.
That's neat.
And they've just been fantastic. Hikers and townsfolk alike. That's been a real big surprise. I didn't expect it, to have that kind of reception from people, and especially being as grubby as I get.
I'm filming you having your celebratory half-gallon of ice cream.
Oh, are you?
How does it feel to be halfway?
Great. That's really nice. Good to be halfway.
Is that dramatic enough?
Where's the sign?
I think I got ink on my neck.
Do I see it?
Well, this is it.
Is that what it says?
It says 14 trail states: Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine.
Does it say Katahdin
It says
1072,
Yon-
Springer 1072,
Rongo.
1069?
To our south is 1069 is Springer Mountain. I'm close to Katahdin right now because Mount Katahdin's.
There you go.
I think it's more of a people experience than I thought it would be. When you think about doing the trail, you think about this great going out and taking on the wilderness, and I found it to be much more fascinating to meet all the people in the towns and along the trail. And that's what I end up telling people about when I tell them about the trail.
Do you think it's a physical or a mental trip?
Both.
Do you think you're changing at all?
I think so. I'm less stressed out than I was when I left. That's sure.
When you think about going back to work, what are your thoughts? Are you not thinking about it right now?
I think a lot about it. I think how hard it's going to be to walk off of the trail experience and go back into real life. And I have 2 decisions a day out here. How far do I walk and what do I eat for dinner?
Bears are very good.
He's been really good. It's having a dog. It's just there's always someone there. When life is miserable and there's no one else around, or when life is really good and there's no one else around, there's always someone there to say, "Oh yes, yes, I love you too."
Giardia.
Uh-huh.
Where did you get it?
Somewhere south of Pearisburg, probably.
Mm-hmm. And it's generally made your life hell, or?
Yeah, well, it was about, I guess just a few days outside of Troutville, I started getting sick. Started with the runs, and then added on with nausea and just the general blahs, hiking about 14 miles a day. David didn't think it was anything in particular and accused me of bearing children.
The symptoms, extreme chills, stomach cramps. I would recommend treating all water. You never know.
Is that why you got it? Because you didn't treat your water?
We were traveling in a group of about 10 people, and it seems like 8 of them contracted it in that time space. It can lie dormant from 3 days to 2 weeks.
3 weeks. This is our 14th year.
Wow.
We've been doing it that long. And the center opened first just with space, and then about 10, 12 years ago we put in a shower. That was the real draw. And now we have 6 or 7 bunks and extra cots and a sitting room and a shower and a bathroom. And we get about 400 hikers a year, plus or minus a couple hundred, I guess.
Wow, that's terrific.
It's kind of hard to keep count. We don't really worry too much about it.
And you have a lot of interest in the outdoors yourself.
Yes.
So it makes it, you like listening to their stories and...
Oh, the whole church likes listening to their stories. It is a ministry from the whole church's perspective. And on Thursday nights, we have a feed. We have an old church supper, covered dish, and get out the grills and grill hot dogs or hamburgers. And everybody from the church brings something, and we feed who's ever here. And sometimes it's nobody, and sometimes it's 17, 18, 23, 24 hikers at a time. So
Wow.
we have a really good time. Well, we're at the 1,200-mile point, and if you're hiking from Georgia, which is the way most people go. And I think in talking to both northbounders and southbounders extensively, I would suggest that you go south to north. The other thing I think is yes, it's extremely physically tough, it's also emotionally tough, and it's mentally tough. And, take your breaks, particularly in a place like this, where often people will spend 2 or 3 days just kind of letting the trail go inside themselves and reflecting on it. And that's good for you. And take your time, there's no rush. You're hiking 2,000 miles. There's no need to rush through the experience. And when it gets tough, know that you can get it together again and take that next step and start out. Because it is tough.
Yes, when it comes to diet and equipment, you know how they have the normal curves and standard deviations? Well, I'm well off the standard deviation. And I like to make facts into myths. I've been existing mainly this year on peanut butter and jelly, going to all-you-can-eat restaurants, but maybe cookies. I like cookies. A pound of cookies will get me through a day. And for my equipment, people ask me, how can you afford to keep walking the trail? I said, well, I'm not inherently wealthy, probably lower middle class at best, but I'm cheap. That's why. My sneakers here, I went to the Salvation Army, and lo and behold, there are 6 size 12 pairs of sneakers there, size 12. I guess somebody that had big feet died or something. And I bought them $1 each. And so up to this point in time, I've really only gone through a pair and a half. So I've only spent $1.50 so far on my footwear over 1,300 miles. And I do hope to complete the trail with under $6 invested in my footwear, and that includes shoe goo. So I feel pretty good about that. My socks, I've only worn 1 pair of my own socks. I have found socks and laundromats along the way, so I think I will only use 1 pair of socks. So I'm trying to get by. The only thing I really spend money on the trail for is newspapers, New York Times and or other papers, and the food, all you can eat.
What kind of cookies?
All cheapest, 2 pounds for, if I could find a pound of cookies for $1 or less, that's what I buy.
That's what you buy.
The cheapest. Yeah.
And when you're taking a little vacation from the trail for the afternoon, where do you go?
To the afternoon? If it's available, hitch into town, someplace, anything that has air conditioning. A laundromat, and I spent an afternoon at a laundromat reading modern romances. That was pretty good. And a shopping mall, maybe go to a multiplex theater and go from movie to movie. Restaurants, swimming pool, beach, any place that's cool. How to find your way north, and all of a sudden she's telling me to her ex-husband about the dots on the poles, 1 dot, and then the next thing, the 2 dots, how to turn left here, and these things I never even knew. I blew by these things for God knows how many years, never even noticed them. She says, it's on the pole. I said, where do you see this on the pole? And all of a sudden, I'm seeing it.
Now you see them everywhere.
Now it's all of a sudden, I tell somebody, I say, it's as plain as the nose on your face.
That's right. The blaze is the blaze. I mean, once you know where they are at, you see them everywhere.
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, that's what I look forward to, the spring, when all of a sudden isn't it time for the hikers. And I sort of, in a way, when I see people walk by, I almost feel like getting out there with the flag, come on in, because I enjoy the stories that they pass along, as well as giving them the news of the day from them being on the trail and they haven't heard within the last 2 weeks or something like that. News events that has occurred that somebody doesn't have a clue of what went on.
Do you think that...
You bet that is a tick, and his
tick removal is not easy.
His hind end is up, and he is waving.
What does it say about pulling it out?
Remove any tick immediately. The longer it feeds, the greater chance it will transmit spirochetes. Don't try to kill the tick first by heat or suffocation. A dead tick can be just as tough to remove as a live one. So, ignore advice by petroleum jelly or nail polish remover or lighted match. Just get on with removal. Have a pair of sharp-pointed tweezers and with alcohol or some other disinfectant.
I have tweezers that I got just for this purpose. They're in that bag right there.
Try to make sure the mouth parts do not remain in your skin. If they do, call your physician to remove it. If you crush a tick with your hands, be sure to wash your hands thoroughly. If you live near a university center involved in research, call to find out whether you can bring the tick in to be examined to determine whether it is indeed Ioxodes damnii.
Damn it all.
Yeah. Transport it in a sealed plastic bag or a jar of alcohol. If you develop any rash, flu-like illness, or other symptoms in weeks or months following tick bites, see your physician.
I don't think that he has been on there very long, but when I get him out, well, I don't know,
I'm sorry, honey, I can't see it in here. Let me get my alcohol and everything out, too.
I got him. In fact, if I bring it up to this end of the scale, it will show the units of measure as well as the proximity to the...
Maybe everybody should come over here and have tick check.
Do you stay in hostels a lot, Linda?
As many as possible. Because after doing a number of days of hard miles, it's really nice to have a bed, to have a shower, to have just somewhere to hang out for a little while, get back together, and to make sure that you know why you're out in the wilderness in the first place. A little civilization will do that to you. It was like I've been out in the wilderness for 2 weeks, and do I really want to go into town? What is a town? And it was kind of weird. Walk down and you see lawnmowers, and you smell diesel fuel, and you think, do I fit in here anymore? I haven't been in town for 2 weeks. What is a town? What is money? It was weird.
When was the last time you had a sandwich there, Sore Feet?
Manchester Center.
Oh, not too far away then.
No. But I've been dreaming about this all day. I just got lucky. You put mayonnaise on the wrong sandwich, and so I didn't want it, so I got it. Yeah, I've been dreaming ice cream and soda all the way here, so I got lucky, got a ride right in.
When you come to stores like this, are they pretty friendly to you, or?
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah, they're real friendly. You know, they're real nice. You know, I just go in and I look at the food right away.
You know, the fella offered us to raid his refrigerator, the laundry, to do laundry at his place, and you know, he had a VCR and a bunch of movies, and you know, of course I took him up on that.
At the beginning, I was really worried about getting wet. I didn't want to get wet, but now it's part of my life.
Now it's almost a relief sometimes to get wet.
Yeah.
How's the weather been? Has it been?
Oh, it's been really good. It's been hot, but it's and it seems like in the forest, it's always cooler. I always notice that when you come into towns, it's a little bit hotter, but in the woods, it's usually cool and there's a breeze. The weather's been pretty good. Yeah.
So besides boots, you've had any other problems with equipment?
Just my bones. No, not really. The only thing is my old Kelty pack is about 20 years old. It's held up over the years. The only thing that went wrong was this started to rip out, and I replaced the hip belt twice, and I replaced the shoulder straps twice.
Wow.
But Kelty's real good about it. I gave them a call, and they didn't ask any questions at all, except where do you want it sent and how soon you need it. And they usually shipped it out air freight the next day. So I was real lucky. But other than that, I've been really happy with the choices I made. My stoves worked well, and sleeping bags worked out okay, and so I've been real happy.
Have you been eating any differently up here in the Whites than you were before?
I've been eating a lot more of, probably a lot more candy bars. And when I get into town, like when I went to North Woodstock, I had a real craving for salads and fruits and stuff like that. And my appetite's gotten a lot bigger. Going in for three Big Macs or 3 burger. You know. The bigger the better.
All right, okay. Have you been staying in huts?
I've been about 50-50. I've been using my tent as much as I possibly can and staying in huts. I stayed at Lonesome Lake, and they allowed me to work. There were 5 through hikers there 3 or 4 nights ago, 3 nights ago, and they allowed us to work off our stay, which was nice. I ended up doing dishes and cleaning the bathroom.
That's not too bad.
But it was worth it. It was all you could eat, and big pieces, thick pieces of ham, and unlimited food, unlimited milk, unlimited orange juice. So it was worked out nice. They were a good crew.
All right.
Real friendly.
So in general, do you think that's one of the best ways to get through the Whites, is working?
Well, I heard some huts, like this particular hut is real strict about through hikers, that unless you have reservations a long time in advance, they won't let you stay. Unless it's real inclement like it was yesterday with the thunder showers. But I think the rest of the huts, that's what I'm going to try to do, is work my way through them. If the crews are up to it and they're friendly, I'd like to meet them all and get to know them better.
The Whites are extremely nice, extremely steep, extremely rocky. People have said that Pennsylvania was rocky, but no one ever mentioned rocks in New Hampshire. But there are rocks here, big rocks, little rocks. But I was coming up South Kinsman and just thinking about Albert Mountain. Albert Mountain is a joke now. I remember when we hiked over Albert Mountain, everyone ate a big breakfast and got up early. And now it's like you look up at this thing and say, damn, I got to go up that? Gotta look to see which way the trail goes.
I didn't have a big breakfast.
But the Whites, we've had excellent weather. Well, that's all we've heard about is the bad weather. We got rained on top one day in the afternoon, but it was only for about an hour or so, and we got to a shelter. We haven't stayed in any huts yet. I thought that was pretty much the way to go, but we've been able to camp and had wonderful evenings.
All right. So you haven't, what about the shelter situation before you got to the Whites? Was it crowded, or are you in a void, or?
No. We're in a void. There just aren't many through hikers, I don't think. I imagine most of the ranks have been pared down to just a few foolish ones remaining.
How many miles a day were you doing before you got here?
15 to 20. I was doing real good time, but I was told to slow down, so I slowed down in Vermont. I've been doing, say, 10 to 15 miles a day. And I'm catching all these people behind me who I'd passed are catching up. I saw a Happy Valley hiker outside of Manchester Center. I hadn't seen him since April 24th in the Smokies. And he came walking in, I looked, and I was like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while.
Now that you've made it this far, is there any way that you would ever quit?
Never. I never was going to quit at the beginning.
Actually, for a couple hours work here, you get all you can eat, and I was thinking about just staying right here for as long as I can.
How you doing, Chuck?
Doing real well, actually. I'm having a great time.
So you're traveling by yourself now, or?
Yeah, I've been on my own for a while, actually. I think the last time I saw you was Harper's Ferry, and shortly after that, let's see, I left Harper's Ferry with Captain Sunshine and Hacker Hiker, who, let's see, Hacker Hiker dropped out at Caledonia, which wasn't too far from Harper's Ferry. And then Captain Sunshine, he knew he was leaving.
Right.
And he finally left at Duncannon, Pennsylvania.
But you've been going strong.
Yeah, so far. Boy, in fact, it's seeming more and more like this trip is just going to run out too soon. I really wish there was more time left. Yeah. This has just been wonderful.
How do you like the Whites so far?
Oh, they have been magnificent. I have been so fortunate with the weather, and most of the days have just been really clear and great views, and I'm real fortunate in getting work at the hut, so I've been eating real well and sleeping indoors, and don't have to go too far each day, so it has been even better than I expected. For a long time there, I was getting really sick of all the southbounders we'd meet all through Connecticut going, oh wow man, wait till you get to the Whites, wait till you get to the Whites, and it's, oh wow, it's really great and all that. So I really got tired of hearing that, but I can see why now. They're just magnificent.
Yesterday we finally became through hikers. We found M&Ms on the trail and we ate them. They were good.
interesting because I've been mostly alone since I started. And in Maine, I see all these northbounders in shelters, and everyone knows each other. And they've been walking with so-and-so for 100 miles, and you know, they know the romances, they know the history, they know all the you know, all the neat stories and everything, all the drama. And it's weird because I come in and I hear about all this, and I meet these people after I've heard all these stories and, you know, fantasies and propaganda about them. But for me, it's been a very solitary experience. Only one day when I walked with Laura, who you filmed yesterday, that was the only day that I actually walked with someone. Every single day I've walked alone. And my only other time with thru hikers has been staying in shelters with northbounders. And that's it. And it seems like such a big social experience if you go northbound. But you go southbound later in the season, and you have a lot of time to yourself. You have a lot of time, a lot of peace and quiet. A lot of the shelters have been empty. A lot of the Boy Scouts are gone. Outward bound groups are going home.
Do you read the registers?
Yeah, I read them all. I look for people that I've heard of. Heard these neat stories about some of the more wild characters, some of the more criminal characters or whatever. And I look for people like I met, you know, the Italian Scallion and Just Harry, people like that. I look for their entries way back when they were there months before. And yeah, the registers are important. It gives me a sense that I'm walking, even when I'm alone, that I'm walking a trail that other people are doing at the same time, and I'm part of a group of people that are doing, a reasonably elite group of people that have the insanity or craziness or whatever to do this trek. But yeah, registers are important, without a doubt.
Okay.
We bought the place in October of '85, and that spring we started taking our first hikers. Had no idea about the Appalachian Trail when we bought the place. Heard about it. And then one day a group of these nasty, disreputable looking citizens came knocking at the door, saying they wanted to stay in the barn. And those were my first thru hikers.
Wow.
And they set the rates, and it's been the same ever since. We try to do everything that we can. We try to be a mom and a dad, a drinking partner, although we don't drink anymore. We are confidant. You wouldn't believe some of the conversations that take place at this table. We've suffered through Dear John letters and Dear Jane letters too. Maggie has sewn, cut hair. When we go swimming, we always try to take a bunch of hikers with us. We drive them everywhere we can. Maggie's even taken them to Boston. Jiminy Christmas. We pick up packages for them when they need them. We take them to the hospital. We bring them back. We just try to make it a real comfortable environment for them, as comfortable as we can. We know a lot of them get homesick at this point. There's something about the Gorham house. They've just come over the Mahoosics and they're heading for the Whites, or they've just come over the Whites and they're heading for the Mahoosics. And when they hit the barn, there's something about it. We probably, percentage-wise, have more people leave the trail here than any other place, for the amount of people who actually get this far. They'll lay up here for a couple of days and make their calls and get their mail, and they start thinking about home. And like I said, if they've had a tough time in one of the ranges, it's easy to start thinking about Sweetie and clean beds and real dry toilet paper, and all those great luxuries in life. And we have people who will come back long after they're off the trail and stay with us. We've been invited to weddings. Maggie's made a wedding gown for one of the girls 2 or 3 years ago, that came through the trail. We were thinking about building a place closer to the trail for hikers, just for hikers, a free hostel, if you will.
Wow.
And because they really get under your skin, you guys and girls.
You read in the trail log, I got upstairs there, and they think that because they just happened to hit it right, that the Kennebec is an easy river to cross. And really it's not. They just happen to hit it right and they cross in the right place. There's been 2 or 3 people been drowning there, and if they don't hit it in the right place and they hit it when it's higher than its normal height, and they step into one of those deep holes, and if they get their pack with them, they're gone. And it's, you know, it's a river to be taken very seriously because it's very swift.
What would you say the percentage of people that are fording it rather than taking the free canoe?
Well, it's really hard for me to say. You'd have to ask Steve that. I think the majority of them are taking the canoe wisely.
How do you feel?
Good. Tired, but good. Ready.
Ready for the end?
Ready for the end, I think. In some ways. Definitely not in others.
Any kind of, have you been having all these philosophical thoughts these days, or
No. Well, sometimes we'll be sitting in the middle of the woods or something, and, you know, I'll realize how much I'm going to miss that kind of stuff. You know, you stop for a break and you're sitting by a waterfall or something, and, you know, it's just so quiet and peaceful, and you realize it's almost over. It'll be sad. I'm sure I'll cry. It'll be emotional.
Ooh, where's the Ben and Jerry's?
How much money do you have?
What have you been thinking about as you're getting closer to Katahdin?
God. Thinking about what a change it's going to be to get back in the real world. And now that I've made this big adjustment for 5 months of my life, I don't think I want to change back to how I was living before. I think I'd rather, I don't know, it seems a lot easier in a lot of ways out here. And I don't know, there's certain other things you realize when you come into a town that before you didn't really notice, that maybe seem really stupid to you now. I noticed that TV is really, I don't know, really kind of ignorant compared to what I thought it was before. I mean, I watch things now when I get into a town, it's just like, I don't think I'll ever watch TV again. But I don't know, I'm not looking forward to getting through in one way, and in another way, I'd like it just to keep going.
How does it feel, Captain Noah?
Great, incredible. Just, I don't know if my lungs have another good scream in them. I wasted several up top. It was,
wow.
It was just, I mean, it was low visibility, so I didn't see the summit till it was like 50 yards away, and I just ran the last 50 yards. I probably could have killed myself on the rocks. I think I've taken as much time to walk halfway down as I did to get the whole way up. It was just, the adrenaline was pumping.
Great. So,
and spent a couple hours up there and just enjoyed it.
Oh, it was great just being up there, you know, just knowing that you'd done it and you'd finished. And, you know, setting a goal like that and actually attaining it was, I think, for me, it was an accomplishment anyhow. So I don't know, it just gives me a lot of confidence, I think. I felt really strong once I got to the summit. It was like, wow, I'm whole, you know, I've done it. So that was neat.
That's great.
I was already so excited. And the sign was so close. And I started to hyperventilate, and then I was running faster, and I got to the sign, and I just let loose, and I just started bawling, and I just cried, and I got closer, and the sign, and I grabbed the sign and just held and hugged the sign. And there's 3 other day hikers there, and they were a little surprised, and but I didn't care. I just bawled, and they were like, "Wow, it must be an emotional experience," they said to themselves. I was like, "Yeah."
Right.
And then, "How far did you come?" I said, "Georgia."
It's dark as hell up here. Couldn't be up with a better bunch of people. And,
All right.
You know, this is the end of a lifelong dream.
I've always started in April. I like the time of year, the April start. Being from Georgia, I kind of know what the weather's like, so I want to start up with the first spring flowers and before the trees have any leaves on them, and then kind of, as Earl Schaefer put it, walk with spring. I think it's great for people to get out here and be stripped down to the basics and find out who they are. Not that we come out searching for ourselves. I think most people that come out here are pretty well put together before they get here. But at least it gives you a chance to detach yourself from the cares of everyday life and to examine your values. And I've used the expression about a touchstone, this being a touchstone experience. In medieval times, a touchstone was a little stone that the gold merchants used, and they would rub, when somebody came to sell gold, they would rub it against the touchstone, and depending on the color, they could tell how much gold was in it. And I think this experience is a touchstone experience where everything else that comes afterwards, a person can say, yes, the values that I developed when I was myself without the encumbrances of everyday life, those are my touchstones. I can go back, and when you get back, you just, everything you can evaluate and say, is this the way I acted on the trail? Are these the values that really meant something to me when I was stripped down to my basics? And does it fit in with my life now? And you can use it as a touchstone experience.
Clean air in the morning, morning light. No bed, now I'm yawning. I always seem to find you sleeping in my mind. Sweet green hills, you're my home. Well, I've come a long, long way, and I've got so much to say, and I'd love to stay here with you. I'll sleep beneath the stars tonight, tonight. Sweet dreams in the fading light. When morning comes around, I'll see the dreams I found. Sweet green hills, you're my home. Well, I've come a long, long way, and I've got so much to say, and I'd love to stay here with you. Green hills, you're alive in me. Green hills, you're inside of me. I always seem to find you sleeping in my mind. Sweet green hills, you're my home. You're my home.
If it's so hard, why am I having so much fun?
Thoreau said it best.